Good morning, everyone. My name is Corrinala. I live in the Pacific Northwest in Washington State, north of Seattle, and this is my podcast, primarily about my knitting projects, my horsemanship journey with my two Mustangs, Odin and Bragi, who I adopted from the Bureau of Land Management Wild Horse Adoption Program, and also about my gardening and cooking. I am referring to my gardening as junkyard gardening, and I am going to post some video of a garden tour that I did, and you will see why I call it a junkyard garden. So, on today's episode, I have two finished objects, one of which I'm wearing right now, and 4 whips, and then I will talk about other cooking and gardening and other life stuff. So enjoy. And if you are new here, I'm glad to have you. Welcome. And if you are returning, welcome back. You probably are aware that a lot of podcasters have gone away from kind of single subject and have gone to more lifestyle. I think, at least for me, that is more interesting. Just to understand, how people live, and I think it helps us relate to them. So my notes are over here, so if you see me glancing over here, this is what I am looking at, just to make sure I don't miss anything. Anyway, I was going to say about lifestyle podcasts, what I have found is that I am in the habit of subscribing in particular to podcasts who live in places that are not the United States. I love Canadian podcasts, I love British podcasts, a lot of Scandinavian podcasts. There's one I follow that's from Italy. And I think, and also Germany. So I will talk about those a little bit. I keep a list I'll have those in the show notes as far as like what the resources are, but I'm going to look at them right now. So the ones that I follow, let me scroll down. Knit All the Yarn, that's an American one. She is from Michigan. Crazy Sock Lady, also American. I believe she's from Ohio. I have a gardening one, Callie Kim. She's in California. Arne Carlos, that's another favorite. They are in Norway. Shauna Karish, that's a horsemanship one. She is in the United States, and I don't recall right now where she is from. Grow Veg, that's one of my favorites. He is British, has very helpful tips, and the climate that he does his gardening is very similar to here in the Pacific Northwest, on the Puget Sound side of Washington. So I really appreciate that. I get some very good tips from him. Ben is his name. Elisa Wallace, Eventing, she is another horsemanship person, and she is in Florida. Karen Rolfe, she's mostly a podcast, also in Florida, and also horsemanship. So I appreciate her. The Bakery Bears. This one is, I would call it a variety show. They are British. I want to say in the Cornwall area. So I may not be right about that, but feel free to check it out. I provided links in my show notes. Seedling Stitch, she is Canadian, in Vancouver. Shannon Makes, she is very interesting. She doesn't really focus on knitting so much as she does sewing projects. I am not a sewer, but the other thing that is interesting about Shannon, I believe she is Canadian by nationality, but she is a circus acrobat. So you get some very cool footage from her, plus her journey with sewing vintage projects. So I love it. I love the look. But again, I'm not a sewer. And I'm not really a fitted garment. As you can tell by what I'm wearing, I kind of tend to casual, loose things. Sarah Beth Yoga. So this is, again, part of the lifestyle part. I really appreciate her yoga. She teaches to all levels. I have practiced yoga for many, many years. However, I find myself back in the beginning stage and am really appreciating her beginning yoga videos. And you can do, she has playlists for 5 minutes to as long as you want. So, and a lot of times I do yoga in the morning before I work. My commute downstairs to the basement office, and but I have anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes depending on how much time I spend with the horses. So before I go to work. So, and I'll talk about that more too. Tales from Cuckoo Land. So this is a new to me podcast. She is British. Really enjoy her sense of humor. And she is a knitter. And then also an Oregon Cottage. This is new to me. I found them via a recipe, and not so much, this is, I would call it more of a gardening video, but I get lots of great tips on cooking too, so especially using sourdough. And then Garden Answer. This is also a new to me podcast. This person, don't recall her name at the moment, but she is in Eastern Oregon, the very eastern side of Oregon, near the Idaho border, so it's quite cold. The climate is very different than here, but I believe it's her mom owns or manages a garden store, so a lot more landscape plants, but I love that too. And the reason why I found her is that I was trying to figure out how to grow citrus plants indoors. So right now I have a kitty cat that's trying to sneak up on my cup of tea because he really likes to play. When he's not trying to murder my yarn, he likes to play with the tea bag thingy. So I'm drinking a mushroom tea. Let's see, this is called Traditional Medicine. So this type of mushroom tea, it has the rubios, I think is how you say it, also in it, but it's supposed to be an immune booster, and it's just something I drink every day. So pardon me while I watch the cats, so they don't spill my hot tea on themselves, and they don't murder my yarn or any of my finished objects. Okay, so that's a tour of the podcast that I've been listening to. There's always more. I don't have a link to it right now, but another favorite is called We Grow Wild. Really like her. She's Italian, a young couple, and they do a lot of homemade things. And he bakes sourdough bread, and she is a knitter. Let me see. And the other one that I listen to fairly regular, well, when she submits them, is Fruity Knitting, and they are in Germany. So very good, very highly produced videos. They're very professionally produced. They are just a wonder to watch, and she always interviews very interesting people. So highly recommend that one too. I think that was the first knitting podcast I ever started watching, and that was a year or so ago that I started that. So on to the finished objects. So here is my Setesdal hat. Let me take out my glasses so I can bring it down so you can see all the pretty color work. This is for a knit along with Arne Carlos and Modern Daily Knitting. It started on February 1st. So this is made out of Norwegian wool. I finished this one. I happened to be on vacation that first week in February, so there's a cat that's, you can see his tummy on the upper part of the video screen. Hi, this is Harley. He's gonna step on my computer, so pardon the cat hair. Sorry about that. Anyway, the Setesdal hat, since I was on vacation when I started it, I finished it in 11 days. It's a, let me see. Oh, look, hello, Harley. So the color work section's really repetitive and pretty easy. So there's 5 colors total in this, but there's only 2 colors per row. So I found it very easy to follow. The ribbing is a 2x1 ribbing. Has kind of a funny little curl in it. I haven't blocked this yet, so I will. So hopefully that kind of straightens out a little bit. So this was really fun to knit. They are also having a drawing, so if you are interested in this, go to Modern Daily Knitting, and it's the Setesdal hat, Setesdal, and you can knit along, and I think they are offering prizes for, it doesn't have to be finished, but maybe in progress, but it's, you know, you snap a photo, post it to your Instagram account and hashtag Arne Carlos, and also hashtag Modern Daily Knitting, and you can enter the drawing for all the yarn and needles for a sweater that is also an Arne and Carlos design. So it's a colorwork sweater. I'm looking over here to see if I have the Modern Daily Knitting field guide that has that in it, but I don't see it. So so yeah, I'm entering, hoping to win. Second finished object are my winter's gift socks. I threw them in the washing machine. I know it's probably verboten to throw them in the washing machine, but I do, because my socks always end up a little big. So so I throw them in the washing machine. I actually got permission to do this from the Crazy Sock Lady. She throws all her socks in the washing machine. I can't remember if she throws them in the dryer. I have thrown some in the dryer when they're too big, and I may do that to these, but you know, I'll just try them in the washing machine first and see. So this is a free pattern by Amy Snell. I got it, I think it's a Knitpicks pattern, that's where I got it, but here. So just standard 2x2 ribbing. It's this really kind of pretty color work section, and then this I don't know what you call that, but it's a series of carries. So you carry yarn in the front, and it gives this kind of really interesting pattern. So here they are. Here's the other one. Turn them inside out to put them in the washing machine so that the, you know, these pieces don't snag on anything. So yeah, here they are. I may end up having to throw these in the dryer next time I wear them, but they're they're comfy. I do the barn toe. So it's a little bit, it's kind of a long toe, because I do have long toes, and it has kind of a, you know, instead of an angle like that, it has kind of a more rounded, a longer rounded. I don't know why it's called barn toe. I was trying to remember which book I got this from. It's either Knitting Custom Socks, which is, I think, where it's from, and I think that's by Kate Atherley, whose name is, she's a designer from one of the larger companies. I don't think it's Rowan. Well, in a future episode, I promise I will be more diligent about that. So hopefully you can't hear Herbert meowing down there. I don't know what he's meowing at, but he sometimes just has to sing the song of his people. So anyway, my socks. I like short socks too, by the way. I'm going to show you a sock that I'm wearing. I'm not going to bring my foot up here, but I'm going to take it off and show you. I knit these socks last year. These are the asymmetrical socks. I knit these out of Patton's Croy, and they are long. So you can see there's cables, and then there's cables on one side, and then cables on each side of the leg. These are just really long, so I don't like socks on my calves. I like them either kind of below my calf, above my ankle, you know, a couple inches above my ankle, below the part where your calf starts to swell. Either that, or I like them all the way over my calf and up to my knees. So I also found that you can use less yarn that way. So these are the asymmetrical socks. This pattern is out of the Master Sock Knitting book by Ann Budd. So yeah, fun. Took me forever. In fact, I think I had to knit one of them, at least one of them, over again, because I did something wrong. Anyway, I forgot to mention the yarn on these two finished objects. So this is West Yorkshire Spinners yarn that got it out of the sale bin. I know the white is colored marshmallow. That's the colorway. And I think this colorway, the greenish, kind of is called blue raspberry. So put those up there. Hopefully they will dry. This hat, the Setesdal hat, is made out of Norwegian wool, which is the manufacturer is Rowan. So it's Norwegian wool and then spun in, or milled, whatever you call it, in Italy. So it's very nice. It's a little bit itchy for me. I'm kind of a princess when it comes to stuff like that. So anyway, let's talk about the whips, works in progress. So the first one, I had to start over on this one because I did my gauge swatch. Here's my ongoing saga with gauge swatches. I do one, it's like I count, the gauge is off, so I did another one with bigger needles, and I thought I got gauge. Well, then I started knitting the sweater. It's a free pattern by Berroco, by the way. And it was huge. I mean, I got to like this much, and I was like, wow, this is going to be, and there's supposed to be 2 to 4 inches of positive ease. I would have had probably 4 inches left, 4 inches right in the back, and then 4 inches right and 4 inches left on the front too, had I continued. So I ripped it out and started again. So using the size needles that the pattern calls for. So this better not be then, you know, like 4 inches negative ease, because then I'm going to be really frustrated. But here it is. So it's a twisted ribbing, and then there's this kind of center cable pattern. It's hard to see because of the color of the yarn. Let me get my eyeballs out of the way. So, and this is a bottom up, and it is in pieces. So let me show you. Here is the chart, and the chart does start right at the beginning of you know, the first row. You begin on that, and this is the pattern. This is the Crossvine. It's a free pattern by Berroco. So I think, and the yarn is I think it's a ultra alpaca something. I'll show you the yarn here. Oh, here it is. So mine is this. My computer just shut off. Oh my goodness. I think I'll be okay now. So it is Ultra Alpaca Chunky. Yeah. I got this yarn at the Utopia, E-W-E, Topia yarn store in Berroco, Wisconsin last summer when I took a trip with my mom and my sister. So yeah, this has become kind of my morning knitting project. Morning or evening? Morning before work or evening after dinner, and we're just settling down to relax in front of the television. So that's whip number 1. Whip number 2 is another free pattern. This is the DK Vanilla Sock pattern by the Crazy Sock Lady. So you can get this on Ravelry, Crazy Sock Lady Designs. Show you how far. So this is, I'm using leftover DK weight yarn. This is yarn that my mom got me at a fiber show, I don't know, a year or so ago. I only have 50 grams, so I'm knitting a short sock, and I'm knitting the ribbing and the toes out of this leftover Norwegian wool, which is a DK weight. So here's as far as I've gotten on the sock. I love this yarn. It's super soft. It's probably not going to wear that well. I guess I'm okay with that, sort of. Not really. I don't know what I'm going to do about it, though, except maybe just really get into visible mending. I'm trying to find the label for it. Oh, here it is. So it is Fistful of Fiber, Garfield, DK weight, Eagle Nest, Baby Alpaca, and Merino Silk. Baby Alpaca, it has a 45, 45, 10. So what is the other? And the store it came from, or the booth, is Threadbare, B-E-A-R. 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 Oh my goodness. Yeah, it says 45, 45, 10s, which makes me think that there's some other fiber in there. Baby Alpaca and 19.5 micron merino silk. So I'm not entirely sure what that means, but it's really nice soft yarn. I love it. So these may be just house socks. I'm not really that hard wearing on these socks, quite honestly, on my handmade socks. I mean, my Patons Croix, I'll wear the bejeebers out of them. So, but like, you know, the socks that I wear out to the barn or go hiking, this hat's starting to itch, so I'm going to take it off. I use commercial socks. My hand knit socks are just a little too precious for that kind of stuff. So, at least for now, because I have a limited supply. So yeah, those are my DK socks. I never knit DK socks before, so they're knitting up pretty quickly. I tend to knit those during Zoom meetings and stuff like that. Let me see, what else do I have? Oh, I have another Setesdal hat that's a work in progress. So let me show you the pattern. I'm using a different color scheme, and I'm making this one a little bit bigger because I'm making it for Randy, and I have like a teeny tiny head, and Randy has probably a normal sized head. So here is the pattern. This is what it looks like. You can see that I used most of the colors in mine, but you can see there's pink in this one in the middle stripe. I did not have pink, so I used gray instead, and it works just fine. Here's the spelling of it, Setesdal hat by Arne and Carlos. So I'm knitting Randy's in blue. So here it is. I've just the ribbing, and I did a 2x2 ribbing in this one, and just added an extra stitch to have the right number. The right number for the 2x2 ribbing to work out. And again, I'm making this just a little bit bigger. I'm using bigger needles. And the other color that I'm using, so mine is red, white, gold, blue, and gray. So for Randy's hat, I'm using blue and gold, and this much lighter gray instead of white because I didn't have enough. I have a little bit of red left, and then the other color is going to be green. So I think this green is going maybe where the blue went on my other hat. So yeah, so here's where the blue is and the gray, dark gray. So what am I doing here? Let me look at my pattern because I did write down the colors. So for the red, I'm using blue. The gold, I'm using gold. For the white, I'm using the light gray. Oh, and for the blue, I'm using the green. And then for the gray, or the pink, I'm using the red because that is the least amount that I have. So I'll keep you informed on that project. as I make progress. I just finished the first color, or maybe I'm on the last row of the first color work section. Let me see where I'm at. Looks like, yeah, because this is the beginning of my row. So yeah, I'm just finishing up that last row of the first color work section, and then I will get into the second color work section, which for me will be the light gray and green. So that ought to be really pretty. Looking forward to that. Okay, and my final works in progress is a cowl. So this is a cowl of my own design. I kind of started out on the Bakery Bears Valinvent cowl, but then decided I wanted to completely change what I was doing. I mean, really, even before I got very far. So, I'm calling this of my own design, and I think Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears would agree that I've just done I've changed the stitch count, and I have just a very different pattern. So this takes 10 minis, and I use stash yarn, which is one of the reasons why I had to change it. Kay had, when she did her design for her, I think she calls it the Cherish Cowl, and I'm not sure if the pattern is available. It's for patrons only. She had a set of minis from an Advent, so they kind of match. Mine kind of don't match, but they do work together. At least that's what I'm telling myself. So mine's very much I have a lace pattern in here, and then just these minis that I have put the colors together. I have 3 colors left, so I'm, well, 2 after this one. This is a turquoise one. The minis, these colorful minis, the variegated minis, I got from Freckled Whimsy. I just got one of their, bundles of 5. And then I had 5 minis from another manufacturer that are a little bit, they're a little bit thicker. So kind of interested to see how this turns out. So that's what these minis are. They are United Socks, the Katya. So that's what these are. And these are 25 gram minis, and I have actually quite a lot left of these. So these minis are going to go in kind of my stash, and then this is going to be the final color. This is also Freckled Whimsy. So that's what this is. I don't know if I'm going to publish this pattern. I might. I'll let you know if I do. And if I do, it'll be on my Ravelry. So, those are all my whips. And my computer just went off. So, pardon me while I just went to sleep. Okay. So that's the knitting part, 28 minutes in, so I've been going on about that. So I also have a list of my next cast-ons after I'm done with this. One that I'm going to do, I have a gauge swatch for, and I just got the correct color of yarn, is for this Berroco pattern. It's called Westland. So this is made out of Arno yarn. So this color, this is the sweater. I'm doing black, that I had bought yarn for a different project, decided I didn't like the pattern. And then this color work section is going to be a rose. So that is going to be very pretty. And then I also have quite a list of sweaters. I've been gathering my my stash yarn and trying to give it a job, a future job, giving it an assignment. So one of the things that I did last Sunday, watching the cats wrestle, is that I went up to Bellingham to meet a friend of mine who's a former co-worker. Some of you know that I started a new job in January after being at my old job for 17 years. So I have some close connections there. And one of my former coworkers turned out to be a good friend, and we do knit together. We went up to Spin Cycle Yarns in Bellingham, and I got a lot of, spent a lot of money, of course. But I have several new projects that, I was able to take some of my stash yarn and match it with their yarn, and now I have some cool projects to think about. So I didn't bring all my my new acquisitions, so I think I'll just show those as I start knitting on them, because I try to be good about saying where I got the yarn and stuff, so hopefully that will be adequate. Let me see, what else did gardening. So I'm at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a garden tour and explain why it's called junkyard gardening. So, and I think that'll be obvious. In my show notes, I have included a video about garden answers. I was looking up how to grow citrus indoors, and that's how I found this particular podcast. So I provided that link. And then in my junkyard garden tour, I gave a tour of my indoor starts that includes some tomatoes and arugula for microgreens and some radishes, some herbs, a lot of herbs. And what was the other thing that lettuce, maybe? I'm not sure. Some of it's just planted, so it looks like pots of dirt, but I show you my little clear plastic bin setup that I have. These kind of neat little halo grow lights that you can get from Amazon. So if I remember, I will put a link to those in my show notes. What else is going on? Oh, cooking projects. So I found the an Oregon cottage through somebody posted on Facebook a baked item that was made of leftover sourdough, a whole cup of sourdough starter. And as you know, if you are a sourdough baker, you need to get rid of a good amount of your sourdough starter and refresh it before you actually bake with it. So, and it's always a bit, a lot of people just toss it in their compost, which is fine. But, I actually like to use mine. So this recipe, I put a link to it in my show notes. It's called Sticky Bun Sourdough Coffee Cake. Oh, it is so good. Delicious. And it uses a whole cup. So then you get on this rabbit hole of, well, how else do I use sourdough starter? Because I couldn't possibly make a sticky coffee cake every week. Well, there's also lemon cake that in her recipes, and also crackers. I think I'm going to try the crackers because I just really don't need to have a lot of sweets around, because they're very tasty and I love them, but I find that I do get indigestion from them, and that's just not good. So it's a bummer. But she does have the crackers, which I really want to try. Speaking of sourdough, I made a beautiful loaf of sourdough bread and put the recipe I use makes 2 loaves. So I baked one and then put the other, after the dough did all its, resting and proofing, I cover it in plastic wrap and stick in the freezer. And then when we need bread, I take it out of the freezer, thaw it out, and put it in the oven. So that works for me, usually. Sometimes it doesn't work, but yeah. But now I'm super excited on how to use leftover sourdough. Horse and life stuff, let's see. So we celebrated, Randy and I celebrated our 16-year anniversary earlier this week. So that was really fun and sweet and special. And then last night we actually, because our anniversary was during the week, we had dinner and drank some wine. But we both had to go to work the next day. So what we did is that we set aside yesterday afternoon and we went night skiing at Stevens Pass. So that was really fun. It's a lot more affordable. The crowds and traffic are much more tolerable, and the snow temperature is also really nice. You don't get the variability of, you know, like really sticky warm snow in the day if it warms up at all. And just having the lights on at night, it just makes it look really festive. So that was really fun. And then we had dinner at a local casino here that brews really good beer. So that was fun. And then we came home and kind of zoned out because we were both full and tired. So there you have it. 16 years of happiness. What else? Horsemanship. Oh, the horses had their routine veterinary care. Bragi is just 5 this year. I've had him for almost 3 years. He has proven to be very needle sensitive and very sensitive about, you know, like kind of the poking and prodding that you need to do to examine their teeth and ears and eyeballs and stuff like that. We've been working on that, and he was so good. So super happy with that. Odin is a gray Mustang, and he is 11 this year. He's in good health, but he is starting to have some like very tiny pimple-sized melanomas under his tail. That is not uncommon with gray horses. They can get if unchecked, those growths can really cause some problems for them. And they typically get them like under their tail and on their sheath. He doesn't have any there, so that's good. And I think they can even get them another, like maybe like around their muzzle too. So my veterinarian is really wonderful, and she said we'll just watch them, and just if they look like they're really trying to grow a lot, we'll remove them. Melanomas are on the skin, so I am equating them without much information, so bear that in mind, to kind of like skin cancer that humans get, which is interesting that, you know, well, I mean, people in the Pacific Northwest get skin cancer, even though it seems less sunny here, but the sun is quite intense in the summertime because we are up north. And probably humans forget to put on sunscreen. Horses, you can put sunscreen on horses. Odin is really pretty furry, so I don't put it on him. But nevertheless, he is getting some melanomas under his tail, and the vet did not give me any information about like prevention, so just watching and then remove as needed. Okay, that's horse stuff. The other thing that we've been working on, so my day, since I mostly work at home, my day is I get up at 4 a.m., I knit for an hour, then I go out and feed the horses and do kind of their housekeeping and stuff like that. And then at lunchtime, I go out there again, and sometimes we'll spend, 15 minutes or whatever doing some practice, working on some stuff, some leadership skills, some getting in the trailer, because Odin gets in the trailer just fine when he feels like it, and Bragi is still learning about that. So and then after work, I do the evening feeding and their housekeeping. So that's how the day goes. It's been really nice because I get to spend every lunchtime with them. I just feel like that my relationship with them is growing, and that I really enjoy that. I think that's all I have today, and I've been, we're at 39 minutes now, so I should probably wrap this up and then add those kind of garden tour videos at the end of this, and that'll be close to an hour. So, I hope that you have something pleasant to drink, and that you have a crafty project that you are working on while while watching this. So have a great week, and I'll have a great 2 weeks since I tend to publish these about every 2 weeks. So see you next time. Bye. So this is a tour of my indoor garden. This is arugula growing under a grow light, which is under a timer, and the timer's off right now. So I've harvested a lot of the arugula, and I put some more dried worm castings down and some more seed. So it's a little bit rough looking. The next bin over is, you can see a tiny Tim tomato that's doing pretty well. Trying to germinate another one right next to it. I just planted that within the last week. And then in these pots are some radishes and radish greens, really, and some garlic chives. It looks like they need a little water, so after I'm done with this tour, I'll give them a little water. This little garden is in our dining room, which is in a separate room, and we don't use it very often. So this has become my little plant nursery. Trying to sprout some lettuces in this pot and some basil in these little, there we go, little seed pods here. So it looks like I got a little sprout on that one that's kind of towards the top of the picture, and actually another one too towards the bottom. And then in this one is a little herb garden, so I need to water these as well. And I'm gonna show you outside. So in that green bin is an attempt at a mushroom growing pot that someone gave us, the mushroom, whatever you call them, spores? I don't think that's what they're called. Quite a while ago, so it could be more of a burial than an actual growing effort, but I'll find out. It's been cold out. It's raining right now. We're facing north. There's the propane tank, and I have a little flower garden in front of it that's, I've got a tree there, and I think there's a Nootka rose, and of course everything's bare, so it's hard to see. There's a peony in there and a lot of dahlia bulbs. And then behind that is a mound garden. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. So this was a pile of debris, wood debris, and I have piled composted horse manure on it, and that gets full sun. This is north facing, or we are facing north. And this particular area gets a lot of sun, so I'm planning on planting some corn and some squash, and I think a tea herb garden in there, probably cucumbers in that spot. So it goes lengthwise from south to north, so hopefully can keep you updated on that. Okay, we'll go on to the next part of the tour. Okay, here's the second part of it. So again, we're north facing. I just showed, I'm standing on the porch because it's raining. So again, there's the mound garden, the flower bed that I need to work on. And right here, I planted some fava bean seeds in the spring. In January. Here's kind of a perennial garden with some bulbs coming up. And then we are going to go south, staying mostly on the porch so I can stay kind of dry. So I did, this part again is more bulbs. You can see some tulips and daffodils, some kind of sad perennials. And then this is where kind of my container garden starts. Those are our septic tank lids, and you can see some leaks from last year that are on one of the septic tank lids. I was kind of hoping it would stay a little warm. There's a potato bag in the corner that's just, everything's just kind of waiting for the temperatures to warm up. It's supposed to get quite cold again, so I'm not really going to plant much outdoors. So this stuff this little herb garden that I'm growing in these mason jars, or ball jars, excuse me, those did really well over the winter. So I lined this container, this clear plastic bin with bubble wrap and stuff to help keep things warm, and it actually did quite well. These are some peas and some onions I started indoors, planning on eventually putting the onions outside, and I'll show you where those go. There is some container stuff. Oh, look, it's so this, get my hand out of the way here. I honestly can't remember what this is, but I started this in a berry pack with the lid down, and it is growing. So I am going to turn this around. It's got quite a lot of water, which I don't love that, but I'm not gonna worry about that right now. And again, I lined this plastic. Oh, there's some sprouts here too, but they look a little waterlogged. So maybe I will take care of that and then be back with you in a minute. But I did want to say I lined this one also with some plastic bags and stuff to help just kind of keep things warm. So stand by. Okay, I am back. So the peas, mostly I'm going to use those for like pea sprouts for salad, tops of salads. They're really quite tasty and fresh. These were growing indoors while we were on vacation, and they grew quite a lot, which surprised me, so I stuck them outside to kind of slow them down a little bit. And then over the railing here, we are south facing now, but the garage is kind of in the way, so it doesn't get full sun all the time. But that's an old herb garden bed below us here, and then just various containers. So this blue one is an old feed tub that had a crack in the bottom, so I thought that would be perfect. I probably should just call this my junkyard garden, and you'll see why more. And then I've got these big cloth bags that looks like some beets overwintered quite well, and some chard over there, so I'll be starting those eventually. And then I'm gonna take you around towards this part. The former owners of this had put down a lot of landscape fiber and stuff, so this has been kind of a pain, and then the weeds grew up through it, so this has been kind of a pain to clean up, so it's really kind of a mess. Very much a work in progress, but I put composted horse manure down here, and what I plan to do is plant more peas. So you can see this old fence post with some fencing. That is going to be the pea supports when I get those planted in the ground. Like I said, we're expecting some quite cold temperatures coming up here soon, so I'm going to wait before I plant them. Wait till after that's done, and hopefully that's the last of our really super cold temperatures. Although we will still get freezing temperatures, but you know, these are going to be more like in the 20s. So just there's the creek down there, and then so part of junkyard gardening. So this is an old muck tub that's quite broken, and I will probably plant something in it because it has great drainage. And then over here in front is the a raised bed that has a lot of strawberries. You can see a rosemary plant. There we go. Can't hold it quite still. A rosemary plant in the corner, and then there's blueberries in there too. So this has been a very productive garden, I suspect, and it gets great sun. I suspect I'm going to have to restart the strawberries. And then over there, in front of that piece of railroad tie, are raspberries that we planted the canes last year. And then right there beside the pump house is a nice green patch of lawn that gets great sun. So I am thinking of putting some big portable raised beds there. So that's the garden tour, and well, I hope to keep you updated on that.